Hello, my name is Philip Mariconda. I am, I guess, known as Mr. Knits, and coming to you from Bremerton, Washington, just west of Seattle. Nice ferry ride away, and we are prepared to host a trunk show with Mrs. Knits. However, circumstances obviously dictate a little something different, and I can take the mask off. We got this place to ourselves, so what we're gonna do is something new. Like a lot of people have had to innovate these days. We're gonna try an online trunk show. We're gonna have Mrs. Knits reach out to her knitting peeps and let her know what we got here from Noro, a gorgeous product line. Well, here's a glimpse of downtown Bremerton. Basically a navy town, and that's a beer garden there. They do like their beer here. And so, but Navy sailors coexist with geeks here. And this is Mrs. Knit's office. This is where the planning comes before the yarn gets to you. My job is to package it and send it your way as the vice president of logistics. So if you're receiving packages from Mrs. Knits, I probably had a hand in it. Because I do those little details, Mrs. Knits is incredibly creative. Well, it occurred to me I can give you a quick tour of downtown Bremerton. There it is. One more place that's right next to Mrs. Knit's office, a classic Roxy Theater. Yeah, we saw that Queen movie, the Queen biography movie, Bohemian Rhapsody here. And then we're going to head right upstairs to your office next door. Okay, now here we are, ready to meet the Mrs. Knits, Bonnie Mariconda. Hello.
Hello.
My official bunny is how I refer to her.
And bear. We
Yes,
take it on the road.
the logical bear for vice president of logistics. That's what I do. You're the brains of the operation. I just push packages, boxes, and envelopes and stuff. So what usually happens at a trunk show?
Well, glad you asked, Mr. Knits. Trunk show is basically an opportunity to see the new designs and the new styles and check out beautiful yarns. This week we're doing Noro, which is Yusaka Noro's color of nature, and his gorgeous hand-dyed eco-friendly wools and silks and all sorts of yummy, as we call it in the fiber industry, the yummies.
So if we were to have other people here, we have like snacks, drinks. The coffee seemed like a nice idea.
We do. I have my own Keurig brewer. Cheers. But yes, we have a little art studio here in downtown Bremerton, Washington.
Oh, I introduced it. The short ferry, not a short ferry ride from West Seattle, but it's lovely. So even before the pandemic, online stores are so much more prevalent lately. And now with the pandemic safety measures, online stores are a bigger wheel. How does an online yarn store work for knitters?
What we do at Mrs. Knits is we actually started out as a designer outlet shop for yarns and things that were discontinued and overstocks, and that one skein of yarn you need to finish your project that you just can't seem to find anywhere else, we've got it. And if we don't have it, Mrs. Knits is really good at finding yarn.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. So what are the plans in terms of the yarn store?
We are in the process of opening up a little studio here at Spark Commons downtown. It's a co-working space, sort of a loft with beautiful wood ceilings and sort of an industrial vibe. And we are excited to present the Noro kits that we're doing. They're blanket kits, and they supply you with the yarn, the pattern book, the accessories, some needles if you need them, and a really cool knitting bag along with soak fabric wash, which is really wonderful for cleaning your hand knits without damaging them in the wash. And it's eco-friendly, so no dyes or colors or any sort of chemicals in them. They're all natural. So yeah, kits it is. We're doing, and don't forget pop-out yarn shops. So you never know, or we might just pop out with a show.
And, we could potentially meet folks here, that's for sure.
We do take appointments.
We're gonna sort that out, rest assured.
We are sorting it out, and next year we hope to actually go live with a retail store if things come together.
Long range plans,
As
retail
we
store.
hope next year will be a local yarn shop, although we're always a local yarn shop, we just happen to be online.
I know, we wanna help everybody, especially those who are struggling to get into into a brick and mortar yarn shop.
That's true, they
Yeah.
are going out of business sadly at a high rate. Many existing shops they struggle with selling yarn on the internet, and we have been doing that since 2005, so it's natural for us to sell yarn on the internet. And the big exciting announcement is we are expanding from eBay to our own mrsknits.com shop and design studio. So I will actually be in the process. Oops! It's Andrew the alpaca. Say hi, Andrew. Seems to have jumped off the couch here.
Oh, Andrew.
Anyway, I'll
Just
be
first stand camera. Go ahead.
eventually offering custom knitting services and my own product line. I'll be making Mrs. Knits yarns and a pattern book devoted to the topic of Noro and his design and yarn history. So lots of interesting things coming down the bike.
I have no doubt you're good for it. I've seen your mad skills. Yeah, so this show is all about Noro. It looks to be the highest quality, even to my untrained eye. And obviously you mentioned the origins of it, and it mimics the colors of nature.
It is. It's earth, ocean, earth, mountain, skies.
Right.
So you actually have color palettes based on that. So, for example, the Silk Garden Mitered Blanket you saw in the presentation, that is made out of ocean colors. So it has yummy turquoise blue and sapphire and greens that are just absolutely ocean beautiful. And then there's other colorways that have the rich browns and oranges and charcoal white, sort of a earth and mountain kind of effect. Lots of his yarns are named after small cities in Japan or exotic locales like Hapkido. And I've actually traveled in Japan. Part of my influences as a knitter was that I visited Japan when I was a child forever ago and learned how to knit there actually. And what was slick about Japan was you could go into a department store and buy your yarn. So it was kind of fun. And what I've been told is that Japanese knitters are very literal and they want to knit the exact pattern in the books and the colors presented. Whereas American knitters sort of free form a little bit more and will choose different colors and alter the pattern, both of which are very valid. We certainly cater to, obviously because it's Japanese yarn, we do cater to presenting the exact colors and patterns into our kits. But if you want some creative inspiration, you can always email me at
substitute a lilac for an orchid.
Yeah,
that could work.
I can help you decide what colors you want to do, or if the technique seems too difficult, we can certainly make it easier for you. And I think eventually we'll be showcasing some techniques and provide some knitting lessons on our hope to be someday YouTube channel.
Well, this is one of those things that we hope to do when some people cannot even get to a local yarn shop to recreate that experience. That's
Absolutely
wonderful. And I can see what makes Noro one of your favorites is the notion of you love your color theory. And but speak to the texture of it. Is there something special about it?
Well, what's special about it was that they are environmentally friendly fibers and dyes, and they don't, I'm trying to think how to put it, no cruelty to animals, so it's PETA friendly. I know years ago they were doing some Angora, but they stopped because of ethical questions around handling of the rabbits. I would say the fibers are usually wool based, but they also have a lot of silk and mohair and cashmere. And in particular, years ago, Noro made this really wonderful yarn called Transitions, and it was multi-fiber, so it had the wool, the camel, the angora, the silk, heck, even some yak in it if you really want to get exotic and crazy. And it was very thick and thin, so it kind of has slubby texture, but with the cashmere and the silk in it, it had a very soft drape and a very soft hand. And yet it was a chunkier weight overall, so it's awesome for that quick project. Oh dear, there's a birthday at the last minute, you want to whip something up quickly and you don't have a lot of time. And Transitions does all the work for you. The colorways are built in there beautifully, and the multi-fibers are just exciting and fun to work with. One of the cool things, it's kind of hard to describe, but knitting is very tactile and visual, and the fun part about the yarns is the color strands and the thick and thin. It builds kind of an excitement as you're knitting, like what color's coming up next? Oh, I just have to knit one more row because I want to see that next color. I want to see that slubby texture, the thick and the thin, and the way they transition from fiber to fiber. It's just absolutely fabulous.
We really do have conversations like this at home, by the way. But now we're gonna go and take a look at some of those blankets. And Mrs. Knits has a lot to say about it.
Do I ever?
Tell me, Mrs. Knits, those are some gorgeous blankets in front of you. What do you got there?
Timeless Noro knit blankets. I have been knitting with Noro since 1992. And every year he comes out with these gorgeous collections based on the colors of nature. So when you look at these, it's supposed to inspire views of earth and sky and ocean and all the different elements of nature. And it's hand-dyed, high quality. And what's really nice about Noro is he's got a palette of colors that applies across them. For example, let's start out with this absolutely gorgeous. This is called the Mitered Squares. Is
that the Silk Garden S8?
It is Silk Garden. It is our #1 selling.
Oh, they love that. People love that one.
It is absolutely gorgeous. I wish you could feel it. Here, bear, take a feel. You gotta tell me how cool that is.
Very nice.
It's silk and mohair blended, and it just, if I can just get this around, it just makes the yummiest little sit in front of the TV piece. You gotta love it.
We'll do something similar.
Yeah, right? And I'm not, whoopsie.
There you are.
I'm not very skilled at the mitered squares, but I know what happens is you knit like a triangle and then you pick up and then knit, you knit like a piece like that and you pick up at the diamond and then come across. Now, the good thing about this knit blanket is it explains all the technical steps and all the details. So if you're like me and you don't know how to do a mitered square, they will teach you.
That's mostly in the book, right?
It's all in the book, absolutely. All the details about how to make everything.
Look at that, we got the book.
Delicious, just delicious colorways. The turquoise and the blues and the greens. They are absolutely stunning, stunning. Let me set that aside. And I'll show you real quick the pattern out of the book. It is right there. There you go.
Oh, we'll take your word for it that it's in there.
Right? They're all in here. This is just a collection of fabulous classics like Silk Garden, Curion, Tabby. There's really fantastic. Tabby, as I mentioned, is a new yarn built on Curion, but instead of having 100 gram skeins, it's 300 gram jumbo skeins. And so what that means is fewer ends to weave in. Absolutely fewer ends to weave in. And the color stripes are a little bit longer. And so when you're getting into the color work, I'll show you in this next piece really quickly. Here you go. Stars. Okay, this pattern is called the Star Blanket. And it is made of Silk Garden again. It's got color number 395 and 84. 84 being this yummy, luscious red and kind of a caramel pink colorway. And then we've got the purples and the blues, which is Silk Garden 395. Now, to make this absolutely yummy, yummy star blanket is the Technicolor Intarsia. And Intarsia is where you're, excuse me while I make this yummy blanket behave, is when you're coming across and you have multiple colors in one row. And when you're dealing with the jumbo skeins, you have fewer ends to weave in and fewer joins because each piece is longer. But setting that aside, here you have your star, and it is a basic stockinette stitch. It says it's worked in strips, so you work these strips and then you sew them together, so you're not dealing with one big chunky piece. So I'm a big fan of Silk Garden. Of course, in here you can kind of see the graphic you're working off of. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, this just, I can't even describe how buttery, smooth, and silky. You just want to kind of wrap it around you. Yay! You could also make a smaller version of it if you wanted like a shawl or a wrap or something like that. So we have the stars. Let's see, here's a full shot of it. How gorgeous is that? So you can imagine, you know, watching TV, it doesn't require that much thought once you kind of get things going. But it's a great way to practice your Intarsia skills. Mrs. Knit's Intarsia skills are probably a little bit dated. But once upon a time, she decided to take on the holy grail of Intarsia, which I realize this is off topic with Noro, but the Intarsia was the Vogue knitting map of the world. And you literally had, now it was pre-Soviet Union breakup, but you had, you know, big continents worth of yarn. I think in this Silk Garden, it would be gorgeous to do a map of the world. And along with the DK and the solid colors, they also make chunky versions. And they make a version called Solo, which is like, this is sort of how Solo comes across. It shades like an ombre almost. It shades of the color instead of like solid blocks. So
Was S8 an example of the Solo, the first one you showed?
the S8 is the Silk Garden DK. The
Oh,
Solo
got
is
it.
a finer gauge.
Okay.
So you're talking like a DK like worsted on this one, and the Solo is a thinner gauge. But that's for another book, obviously. And let's see, the next one is Curion. Curion, staple of the Noro collection. Everybody knows what Curion, oops, as they slither over here. Curion is your real classic wool Noro signature yarn, been around for 30 years or more. And the cool thing about it is the colorways, is how this is all self-scribing. One ball of yarn creates all this gorgeous texture. And we'll get to it a little later, but Curion, excuse me, also has a chunky weight version called Air, which is fluffy and airy and light. And it's just gorgeous. Let me see if I can check where that is in the book, because I think I'm just going to pull it out just to give you an example. So here we have the DK worsted version on me, and then this next gorgeous piece. Yeah, see, here's your sort of interlac-ish, I guess you call it mitered triangles. Again, not a technique Mrs. Fitz is very skilled at, but there's always something to learn, isn't there? The book is so helpful for explaining all these things, so you don't sit there going, this is too hard for me to do. No, they're relatively easy, most of these. There's a few complicated pieces, but. So here we are at the Curion Air. Let me just pull this up really quickly. It's also very similar to the S8. Where is it? And I have lost my place. Shoot. And I lost my place. Give Mrs. Knits a moment here to collect her thoughts. For some reason, she can't find this pattern. So you know what she's gonna do? She's gonna wing it. Here it is in the beginning of the book. And I really like these kind of stitches. It's sort of like a mistake.
That is the perfect
Isn't
opener
that
for the
just
book.
yummy?
Yeah.
It's on a size 15 needle. So we're talking broomsticks like that big. We're talking, you throw this on your needles during a football game, Super Bowl, choose your sport, you know, hockey, for Mr. Knits likes hockey. And so here it is. It's just absolutely luscious Curion Air. It's got the same wool blend, but it's chunky on a 15. And basically this is like I guess they call it a mistake rib. Let me just double check really quick. What I'm talking about. It is, yeah, I'm going to call this a mistake rib. When you knit one and purl. Why am I not understanding this? purl 4, knit 1. Yeah, and you do purl 4, knit 1 for like a row or two, and then you do a garter stitch and then knit 1, purl 1. So
I see I see there's different techniques going into
how
this.
You're like ribbing here for 2 rows and then stockinette. I don't know what it is about stockinette, but there's something about heavy ribbed patterns you do feel a little tedious with. Oh, am I going to be ribbing all these stitches? It does flow a little better once you get used to it. And if you are a beginner, this is an awesome way. You're on big chunky needles. It's really forgiving of mistakes, and it gives you an opportunity to practice knitting and purl stitches and just have this yummy blanket in a weekend. You could seriously do this in a weekend. It is so luscious, and it is color number 46 skeins of it.
Partners watching football, just cast on.
It's, like I said, the book is Timeless Knits, and this is called the Garter and Rib Blanket. It's in Curion Air. Now, as far as color numbers, you'll notice, for example, this first sweater I showed you, the Mitered Squares, you notice how these are really the same colorway, but they take the dye so differently because silk takes really rich, saturated hues, and the wool, it really is the same colorway, but the wool takes it in a finer, less deep hues and more sort of the white, it has more white in it. For those of us into color theory, that's, you know, some of us are into color theory. And what I do like about this as well is sometimes Noro is known for colors pooling and creating big blocks of color that I happen to think are part of the natural rhythm of it, but some knitters don't like that, and so they end up having like a different skein on each end and having to rotate between skeins to avoid that. But I noticed with these blankets here, I see no pooling, and I think they have longer repeats. That's what it's called, a repeat, when you see where the colors emerge. And for Mrs. Knits, for myself, I think there's something exciting when you're kind of knitting along and you're in the purple and then boom, the brown shows up with some brown and purple. I like how he does sort of a solo color, but then he'll go from blue to blue-green to green and orange and then back into purple, but he will spin's the wrong word. He will dye it so that these strands of color transition really beautifully. And so in some of his pieces, you may have something extremely odd, like, oh, this one is an example. You'll have a section of brown and then some purples and some reds that might seem odd next to each other, but they work. That's the magic of Noro.
Why not can you just dovetail into that one?
Exactly. Let me just pull this pattern up. It's called the Heart.
But it's absolutely true. Mrs. Knits will seriously announce a new color just popped up.
Oh, wait until you see our warehouse. We are brimming with Noro yarns. I should tell you right now, we're really excited this fall because we've teamed up not with just Noro, but with Soak Laundry Wash. We're going to be setting up kits, and you're going to have a nice set of interchangeable Likey needles. You will have the yarn. You get a copy of the book and a little bottle of Soak, which is a eco-friendly wool wash that doesn't damage your goods, it doesn't make your skin irritated. It's absolutely fabulous. We are so excited to work with them. That will probably be a show in its own right. Here is I believe it's called the Heart Blanket, and it's number 23 in the book. Let me see if I can. Give me a second here. Are you overwhelmed yet, Mr. Knits?
Seriously, Mrs. Knits is a reader. This doesn't surprise me a bit.
There you go. This is a really fun shot of it. I like this picture a lot.
Oh, wow.
It's a great way to
Centerfold material, seriously.
Isn't that awesome? It's color work 101.
Okay, back page. But yeah, same difference.
It's called Intarsia, and Intarsia is where you have the blocks of color.
Yeah.
And you carry them along the back. And one thing to be careful, so here's like your heart pattern, and you have like a background color and then a color in the middle. You can see how that works. What you want to be careful about with Intarsia is don't carry, let's say this was black and this was red. Do not carry your black across in one strand. It'll pucker and it'll look awful. What you want to do is get what's called a bobbin, And it's a little piece like that with some indents in it, and you wind up, any of you sew a bobbin, you know bobbins from your sewing machine, same idea. You wind up enough yarn to make this intarsia, but you pick it up here and you drop it there, and every few stitches you run the background color along, and then it won't pucker. So that's really important. And like I said, this book is wonderful for teaching all kinds of cool techniques. Now this one, if I understand correctly, is knit in panels. It is 7 skeins of Curion pink, and then it has jade and natural brown, size 8 needles, so you're getting about maybe a worsted weight.
Oh, I recognize the jade. That's a beauty. People love that one.
It really is the coolest thing, and you could do any colorways you want. It's really flexible, and I have to say, it's very interesting how sometimes you can use Curion as a felting wool, which means you want to be careful. Don't put it in the dryer. Definitely try to hand wash it, lay flat to dry. You probably could, if you have a modern machine, you could use like a delicate cycle. That would probably be okay.
Oh no, I've ruined a sweater with the machine already. So
yes, he has. Mr. Knits hit the doghouse for that one.
Oops.
Woof. It was a cashmere blend. It was really not intended. Anyway, just to show you kind of a more. See, you knit these pieces in little squares, and you sew them together. And I like how it gives you small pieces to work with. So again, same thing, football game or your soap operas, or for Mr. Knits and I, it's elementary we're watching right now. I totally love it that I can just put a couple stitches on my needle and make the squares, and I'm not dealing with this huge piece. And the same concept kind of applies with your stars. This is really yummy as well. And I'll put this out for you guys to enjoy for a moment while I pull up the pattern. And it is the Star Blanket, and it's made of silk garden again in color 395 and 84. I think I showed this before, but
yep.
Same concept. Now this one is interesting because they did a little, this is a garter stitch edging. So each of the squares has this really nice edging. And as you can see, to the extent, I mean, this is pooling, the same I was describing, where you kind of have a big old color block like that. But it feels intentional. And even like over here, you can see where they don't exactly match. And yet it still works. There's something about how when you're in like that maroon, and it shifts into a fuchsia, which slides nicely into the blue and the moss.
Clearly the imperfections are what give a blanket character.
Exactly. It completely gives it character. And I'm going to show you 2 more pieces here that are techniques I'm not so familiar with, so I don't have a whole lot of insight into these, but I know that this design is just
It
so
is gorgeous.
classic and yummy. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. It looks really good if you have like a black couch and you want to give it a pop of color. This is it. Now let me look at this. So this is called the Mosaic, and it's made in silk garden number 8. And Cashmereno, Erin, which we'll talk about in a second. Silk garden number 8 is again your yummy kind of ocean colors in here. It's extremely silky and just absolutely yummy, and you can see some of the texture if you come in closer, Mr. Knits. I just want to show them a little bit. This slightly furry texture is from the mohair that is in this yarn. So it's silk and mohair and some lamb's wool, which is just so yummy. And a lot of technique in this piece. But I also think it's really very cool the way they kind of tie it all together with this mitered corner right here, that has the purple that picks up the diamond pattern, which I believe is a slip stitch colorway. Just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And one last piece. Oh, before I move on to the last piece, Cashmereno. Interesting history around that was, many of you might know Debbie Bliss Yarns from years ago, and she made a collection called Cashmereno, which was basically a nice soft wool with just a hint of cashmere in it. It was kind of a cult favorite among us knitters in the 90s. And her distributor, who makes Noro, Knitting Fever, stopped carrying that and introduced a very similar yarn called Cashmereno that is by Ravelry. So it's very similar with a slightly different designer.
Yep.
And these corner pieces are actually the Cashmereno, and so it has a more matte texture, less furry, and none of the sheds, by the way. I know sometimes if you're knitting and you have black pants on and something's got Angora or mohair on it, that you end up wearing it on your lap, which you may not have intended.
You have a dog? No, I'm a knitter.
No, I'm a knitter, and I knitted in black pants, I'm telling you. Does not shed, and it does not have that horrible Velcro effect that old mohairs do. The way they get away from that is they add silk, they add alpaca, and some nice merino wool, things like that. They kind of matte down that, eliminate that Velcro factor that always made me nuts. Now we'll close this fabulous show with the granddaddy of mohair, Noro technique, Entrelac. Way out of my pay grade, but for you really ambitious and technical knitters, Entrelac is the thing. I've been told it's not so difficult once you learn it. I will take their word for it. I have no idea. How's that for honesty? It's called a Crayon Box. And this is a yarn called Ito. And Ito is a kind of in the same vein as Curion and Silk Garden. I would say it's chunkier and has just a subtle bit of, if you want to get a closer shot of that, Mr. Nitz, it has a bit of a tweeting to it. And Ito is, again, a classic Noro yarn, all eco-friendly, hand-dyed, absolutely fabulousness. Ito has always been the chunkier version, which is good for quick knitting, although I'm guessing there is nothing quick about Entrelac. They have also started putting it up in 300 gram balls, which are something like 300-400 yards per. So basically a fourth the number of skeins that you used to use in the old version of Ito.
Well, this is really cool. I've been, helping ship these yarns to people, and now we get to see what a finished product can look like. Thank you for this.
You're welcome, Mr. Nitz, and now y'all know what I look like. Please see our shop on eBay at www.mrsnitz.com. Thank you, and happy New Year.
So, Mrs. Nitz, what's on your needles?
Noro Curiapatora. The name is actually after Cleopatra. It's the Japanese for Cleopatra. And it is a wonderful thick and thin yarn that has wool and I believe some silk content, although I don't remember the exact content of the yarn, but it has variegated colors. Right here you can see an actual panel of it. This is going to be part of a sweater.
You so want to do the cooking show. Here's a finished version of this.
I know, well, you can't see it on my needles very well because I'm just a few rows in, but here, yes, the cooking show. They pop something finished out of the oven. That's where this is going. This is Curiapatora. And then I also have this really yummy Noro Tabby. This is color number 4. And the way this piece works is a little complicated. You knit it, okay, so you knit it vertically, right? You create that rib stitch.
Oh, here comes the tips. Good.
Flip it on its side, and you pick up these stitches and you make a cable pattern. Now, I am struggling with cable, so I am actually going to take another piece just like it, and I'm going to knit the cable panel separately and then sew it together instead of doing it. Picking up I found I missed too many stitches and it would pucker, so we don't want this to pucker.
So we're looking at a scarf there, a blanket?
That is going to be a shawl, and the one below it's actually part of a sweater. And the interesting thing is you knit a tube in stockinette stitch, then you attach the sleeves. Where I'm going to just give you a quick demonstration. I'm going to, so it goes like that, and then you take this sleeve here, and you attach it like so. might be tricky to show this well. But it's going to go
That's
like
why we're
that.
all zoomed in here.
Oh, I know. So you're going to actually sew the sleeve onto here. And so then it goes like that. And so you have this really cool kind of you have a garter stitch edge on both pieces. You have it on the bottom as well. And then this is a, kind of like a mistake, not a mistake rib, but a broken garter, I think they call it, a garter slip, because you knit 3 rows of stockinette and then a row of garter, and then 3 and 3 until you come up to about here, which is where the sleeve kind of comes across like that. And then up here, the base of your sleeves are a stockinette stitch with another garter edge to it. So it's kind of a cool use of stockinette and garter stitch. It'll make a lot more sense when I actually sew it up. But there's an idea how that works. And this, I just threw some extra yarn on my needles and then making a little scarf out of it to go with my very cute little sweater.
Good. Hey, I have a tip too. I have a yarn tip as well. Here's how you can safely open a box that has yarn in it. And oh, this is a no-no directly onto here. So what you have to do is cut on this edge. Safe, not going to hurt the yarn. Cut on this edge. Safe, not going to hurt the yarn. Now this is very important. Carefully and safely make a bow out of it, okay? Now you can cut across without risk of damaging this yummy yarn.
And what would an video be without logistics bear explaining you how to open it?
And there you have, Curion Air. Luxurious.
Oh, Curion Air, one of our blankets made out of that from the kit. 2 stitches the inches, folks. Super bulky, super quick, and yummy soft. Hello, Mr. Knits.
Hello.
What's on your needles today?
Well, I don't do needles so much, but look what can be on your needles. This gorgeous kit, straight from that timeless Noro book that you saw earlier. And hey, let's go through it, shall we?
Shall we ever? This is what we call the Heart Blanket by Bonnie Krantz. It is made of gorgeous Noro Curion hand-dyed yarns. And the advantage to this kit, as to why you should do it rather than individual yarns, is because in one neat package you get multiple colors. Hey, Mr. Knits, what color number is that turquoise on the...
Well, let's see. We have Curion number 344. Mm-hmm. This is 343. Mm-hmm. That must make a nice transition.
Mm-hmm. And on the right is the fabulous rainbow colored 102.
Good guess.
The single most popular Curion color short of the natural colorway, but I digress. While Mr. Knits is assembling this, let me tell you that the heart kits come in at least 4 colorways, A, B, C, D, E, and I believe Mr. Knits we're looking at colorway E. Is that correct?
344. This one's 344.
Oh, forgive Mr. Knits. He knows not what he knows. On the message on the front, Mr. Knits, it'll say colorway.
Well, color right version E. Yep, you betcha.
This is what happens when a non-knitter tries to work with yarn. But you know what? Those packages you receive with loving care are shipped by none other than Mr. Knits. So
we'll fix this one.
Your back office guy who packages your lovelies neatly wrapped and with loving care.
Notice I'll keep them in order.
Yes, he does. He is none other than Mr. Knits, long-suffering husband of Mrs. Knits. But that's another story. Make sure you don't get on her bad side or she might stick you with a needle. Now, what's interesting about this particular kit is you notice you have ocean colors like turquoise and green, and then those bright rainbow colors. But you notice you don't have to buy a whole bag of either color. Imagine if you had to buy 10 skeins of every colorway. Oh no, you get your multi-pack with 1, 2, 3, 6. How many skeins are in that total? 12?
Oh, I have trouble counting that high without my inventory spreadsheet. But it looks to me like we got 19.
19 skeins it is. And show him the other side of the package, dear. What else do you get with this kit? Oh, you get the pattern.
Simple bag.
And you get a little tote bag. Let me see this little bag, Mr. Knits. Why don't you pull that out? Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, you get yourself a craft bag with Noro on it. So open that up, Mr. Knits, and just kind of give us a look-see. See, this is what you get when you come to the studio to pick this up as a nice craft paper bag. Good quality. It'll hold your project for a bit, which is always nice. And by the way, viewers, if you are ever in Bremerton, Washington, please feel free to visit our studio downtown at 258 4th Street. Spark Commons building. We are open by appointment, and as a little thank you for coming to see us, we'll throw in your own personal bottle of soak. What soak? A lovely wash that Mr. Knits forgot, probably because he does a big old pile of laundry every day, because after all, bears kind of miss their mouth and make a lot of dirty clothes. But we digressed. The soak will be in the next show, so stay tuned. And what do we all say? Happy knitting!
Okay. Oh, settle in, because that's what we do. We do this snuggle thing, yeah. Like so many of you out there, we've had to reinvent things for the current circumstances. We hope you enjoy it and maybe learn from this new format, the online trunk show.
Yay!
What's on your needles?
Today.
Oh, happy knitting!
Happy knitting!